one of the biggest questions that we get, one of the most frequent questions we get. The husband owns the house, right? Mostly it's the husband who owns the house. And he reckons he's going to die first, and he's worried about where his wife, the mother, is going to stay. Okay? So what he wants to do is make it such that after he dies, legally speaking, all the assets will go to the wife anyway, right? Unless they've made a will. Even Islamically speaking, he knows the laws. So what he wants is, he wants the wife to have the right to stay in the house until she dies. Only then will it be distributed among everybody. Now that could be another 20, 30 years. So now, many people know that Islamically you can't do that. You can't insist on that, right? Because as soon as the father will die, the mother will have a right to 1/8. The children will have the right to the rest of it if they don't have any parents. So they can technically tell her to leave and look after her themselves. That would be a separate obligation. But they can do that. Now, some parents, they trust their children that they will let their mother continue to stay in everybody's house after his death. It will be everybody's house. They trust their children, so they're fine about that. Others don't trust their children too much, and they want to put it in a will. Now, you're not allowed to say it has to be hers until death, because you're then depriving your other inheritors from their rightful share. However, you can make it your wish. You can say, this is what I would like for it to be. And if you've done the right tarbiyah and nurture of your children, inshallah, they will take care of her. Or if they don't want to take care of her in that house, then they will bring her to their own homes and they will look after her there, whatever the case is, right? Now, if you do have a fear that she will not be looked after and you want her to leave her assets, well, there's a few things that you can do, okay? So I will suggest three options you have. One option is that you can just gift her the entire house. If you think you're going to die first, gift her the entire house. The whole house is yours. She's living with you, so you don't even have to take your stuff out. If a husband says to his wife, all of this is yours, it all becomes hers, right? If he's serious, right? But there's a risk in here. Let's just say that she dies first. If she dies first, then her inheritors, if she's still got some, will have a right to the house. And then you're going to be without the house. You'll get a portion of it, a quarter of it. Your children will get the rest. If there's her parents are alive, they will get a portion as well. That's the risk in there. So that's not a very good idea. The second option is you gift her half of the house. If it's not already half of hers, then you gift her half of the house. I own half, she owns half. Now, of course, if you die, she still maintains 50%. She's got half of the equity in that house. Plus, she's going to get another 1/8 of the entire estate that you've left behind. So she's probably going to be ending up with more than half of the house. Alhamdulillah, that's very good. The benefit of that is, if they're going to cause her a problem, well, she can sell the house and buy something smaller maybe, right? Because she owns more than 50% of the house. And if they, of course, let her live there, then it's all fine, right? So that could work as well. The third one is that it's a bit more complicated, is that you designate this as a waqf, an endowment during your lifetime. You say, this house that we're living in, right, and any other asset you want, this is now an endowment, a waqf for me and my wife to stay in until we die, right? A waqf means that you're removing something from your ownership and giving it into the ownership of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a good cause, right? Now you're saying, how is it a good cause that me and my wife live in there, right? That's just selfish, that's just ours. Yes, it's allowed to temporarily do that until your deaths. But after your death, after what you've stipulated, it will go to the charity that you've named. It'll go to the poor, for example. So if you want security, let's just say you want security, then in this case what you can do is you can say, I'm going to do this as a trust. It will be for me until I die and for my wife until she dies. And then you could also say it's for my children until they die. then it will go to the poor. That's also allowed. The only caveat here in a waqf is that while you protect it in this sense and then nobody gets shares and they can just use it, after the last person dies in there, it will go to the poor. Which means your grandchildren will not have it unless you keep it for them as well, and for them and them and them and them. Problem is, it's going to get too complicated. Eventually in 100 years you might have like 100 people vying for that house. It's too complicated. This maybe will work for somebody who doesn't have any children, right? Or who has one child or something like that, and he's given them enough already, and he says, okay, I want this. I want my wife to be secure after I die. I'll make it an endowment for me and my wife, right, in your lifetime. And it will become an endowment until she dies. And once she dies, then it will go to such and such a madrasa, such and such a masjid, such and such a relief organization, or whatever the case is. You could do it that way as well. Now, I know I'm explaining all of these things. If they're confusing or whatever and you're interested in them, you can ask the question later on, or you can contact us later on, and inshallah we can help you with this. Besides these three, I can't see any other solid way. The only to keep the house for the wife until she dies and then it get distributed. The only other way you can do this is if the children agree and you've brought up good children and they're going to look after the mother. Then that's fine. Jazakallah khair for listening. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. And if you're finding this useful, as they say, do that like button and subscribe button and forward it on to others. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.